So basically 411 here, coming straight out of Boise, back at it with our YouTube video. And in today's video, we're going to be diving into the crazy world of ayahuasca retreats and some of the criticisms that I have of them. If you're a fan of Joe Rogan's podcast, then you probably have heard about ayahuasca. Also, if you're familiar with what happened with a YouTuber known as Marina Joyce back in 2016, you're kind of also familiar to what we're going to be talking about exactly, because when she was going through, I guess, her moment where she was just out of it, she mentioned in one of her YouTube videos that she wanted to go to Peru and start a temple thing and an ayahuasca retreat. Before anything, let us define what is ayahuasca. So ayahuasca is a traditional drug that is used by the tribes of the Amazon. They use it for religious purposes and also for ceremonial purposes. And it's a very, very high psychedelic. It pretty much is like LSD on steroids. And pretty much how you, I guess, take this drug is you take it by drinking a tea. And what the tea is made out of is, it's made out of these leaves from this plant that have DMT in them. And here's the thing, you can't just straight up eat DMT, and the reason why is it dissolves really quickly in your bloodstream, I guess, and it doesn't give you, I guess, the desired effects. So what they do is they take this other plant, a vine from this plant, and they mix it with this leaf. And what the vine has is it has another chemical in it that makes it to where, I guess, the DMT has an effect on you. Also, this but vine has properties in it in itself. And what has happened is it has gone recent traction in like the last 20 years from the West. I guess our infatuation with this drug, and specifically with the New Age movement, came with Terence McKenna in the 1960s, who traveled down to the Amazon to try this drug for himself. And what it originally started off as was a fringe thing that people who were traveling through the area did. They heard about it from Terence McKenna, and they're like, hey, when we're going down to the Amazon backpacking, let's try this drug. And then eventually it became more popular. And with it, a bunch of other different stuff started happening. Like, for example, with a lot of things that end up, I guess, having traditional roots and Western people being introduced to it, people actually started capitalizing on it. Well, one of the ways that people have started to capitalize on this is they have started these things called ayahuasca retreat. What is an ayahuasca retreat exactly? Pretty much it's a place that you can go to do DMT or do this drug. The reason why they've become so popular is the fact that DMT has a reputation of being a drug that cures people. And what happens is people who suffered extreme trauma in their life or even physical ailments go to these things to get cured. Because what they do is they take this psychedelic drug, and they are apparently cured from all their ailments. Which, scientifically there's actually some traction to this. They have done tests on people where they gave them this stuff, and it actually has alleviated some of the stuff that they have gone through. Like, for example, it's been known to, decrease depression in some people and other things. Now that we have, an understanding of ayahuasca and what is an ayahuasca retreat, let's start getting into the video, which is the criticisms that I have of these places. So before anything, I want to say I'm not a professional. I'm literally just some Joe Blow making videos. So I'm not claiming to be a professional in it anyway. I'm just seeing stuff and making a video about it, about things I have issues with. Start with, the first criticism that I have. So even though some of these places do have psychotherapists, they lack medical staff. They don't have any medical staff on hand to, administer the ayahuasca or, do actual tests. If they claim that this stuff has the capacity to heal people, you would think that, there would be way more people in the medical community, going down to these places and helping out, or even opening some of these retreats and actually doing testing on them. With, I mean, seriously, that's how you get these things, I guess, accepted, is when you run tests. Like, for example, currently, they're doing tests with different psychedelics on soldiers with PTSD and seeing if it can cure things. So what I want to see is, if they're figuring out this stuff with the soldiers, well, why don't they send people to these ayahuasca retreats to see what's actually going on? And if anything, it's actually a smart idea, because if you can get people who, I guess, medical staff who knows how to run tests, they actually can comprehend the results that they're getting. And with the lack of medical staff, there also comes a safety concern. You could say that ayahuasca is an extremely, I guess, powerful drug, and it can cause you to get physically sick, both by vomiting and having diarrhea. So, it would just be kind of a smart idea to have somebody who, I guess, is medically trained just in case things go bad. And then, once again, as we'll see, things tend to go bad or can go bad. Either it'd be like an allergic reaction, or people just bluntly ODing on the stuff by accident. And then also, in general, I think it would be kind of a smart idea also maybe having trained medical staff actually giving people the drugs instead of, I don't want to say Joe Blows, because they're actually trained shamans, but people who aren't like medically trained to deal with things. So, like, for an example, what we're going to be talking about is what happened in 2014 to a 19-year-old person from Great Britain named Henry Miller. He pretty much died as a result of taking the stuff. He had taken it the first time, didn't really, I guess, feel any effects, so he took it a second time, and he was feeling really, really sick to the point where they actually had to take him to the hospital. Well, it turned out that he actually died on the way to the hospital, so pretty much they left him there on the side of the road, and then where he was eventually found, and the people pretty much said, yeah, we freaked out when he died, so we just left him there. And you could easily make a pretty decent argument that if there was trained medical staff at these places, this possibly wouldn't have occurred, because he had died from an allergic reaction. You could have said that they could have realized what was going on and would have sent him there, or sent him to the hospital. And then also, you could easily make an argument that maybe if there was a professional there, they could have been like, hey, nothing's happening, let's like not give it to you again. That'd be a smart idea, because it's probably like there's just something not right here. And then, of course, there's another thing that has occurred. Shit sounding like something that should be off of a horror movie, where in 2015, a 29-year-old from Canada named Joshua Andrew ended up killing a 26-year-old from Great Britain with a knife, when the 26-year-old pretty much lost his shit and tried to stab him with the knife, where he pretty much took the knife out of his hand and ended up stabbing him back. And when he got thrown in jail, he ended up claiming self-defense, where, I'm pretty sure if there would have also been trained medical staff there, they could have like dealt with it, or at the very least they could have made it to where, I don't know, the guy didn't get a knife. And if anything, what I'm trying to figure out is, like, apparently he went to the kitchen to get the knife. Well, why was he allowed there in the first place? Like, seriously. Yeah, I think one of the basic safety requirements, if you're going to be doing psychedelics, is like not hide sharp things. I mean, personally, I'm not an expert, but that's just common sense. So where is, I guess, the oversight to make sure everything's like fine? And you would also think that, some of these places would actually have to get like licenses for some of the stuff that they do, which so far I really haven't found anything. And if anything, you would think that they would actually have to go through some form of standards, in which case, as said, there's no oversight. I guess another example of just how bad these places can get was how an 18-year-old named Kyle Nolan, and I believe it was 2012, from California, he went to, I think it was Peru, and he went to one of these places, and he ended up dying from an overdose, I believe. And what the shaman did, so the person who was pretty much running the joint, ended up taking him and burying him on the property. And when first asked about, like, where was this guy, he's like, oh no, he just ran off in the city and pretty much was never found. And then what ended up happening was he pretty much admitted, yeah, the guy OD'd on my property, so I buried him because I didn't want to ruin the reputation of my establishment. And to that I say that's BS. Like, that shouldn't be a thing. You know, you should be able to take some, like, responsibility. I mean, in the end, he did face, like, some things, and they ended up shutting down the place. But, like, still, it could have been prevented. Like, maybe they could have been like, hey, maybe this guy, like, didn't come up to a certain standard, so we're not going to give him a license to do this. You know, says that he ended up accidentally ODing a guy. What we could do is, make it to where the standards, I guess, are actually made up by the traditional people who use this stuff, which then brings me into the other topic I want to talk about. So before anything, I want to say I'm not usually this type of person who's going to bring up this type of stuff, but due to what it is, I kind of have to. And that's cultural appropriation. Now, you could say that really, you know, this thing is like a cultural, like, thing for these tribes, and it's a huge significant part of their livelihoods. Like, they've been practicing this for thousands of years, and it's really kind of fucked up that what has happened is we get a bunch of, like, pretty much white people that come in and they open up these places, and they pretty much are just doing it for people who want to do drugs, and there's no, I guess, like, traditional thing over it. And then with that, they completely, I guess, take away the whole, like, I guess, traditional significance of it. Because with that, they also mix in other stuff, like, that's new agey, like Eastern practices and stuff like that. And it really just takes away, I guess, from the whole, perspective of it. And once again, there's really no medical, like, team there, so you can't be like, hey, it's for medical research. No, it's just you being capitalistic. And let's be honest, most of these tribes are kind of, like, getting screwed currently. Just look at what we're doing to the rainforest, and then don't even get me started on what's happened with Coke and Coca-Cola with these people. Like, they're getting screwed. So really, you could say that these like ayahuasca places are just another way of us capitalizing off of something that, quite honestly, we can't even understand, and something that's been traditionally practiced for thousands of years. And I really, like, hate to bring up that, but I kind of have to, because it's kind of sad. And if anything, I kind of it'd be nice to see, I guess, people being, like, the tribes being, I guess, more involved into it. I mean, you could easily make the argument that, well, by these people coming in and bringing in money to the economy, it helps out the tribes. But in reality, no, it doesn't. If anything, you could say that most of these places actually make a lot of money. Like, these are 5-star resorts. Like, they're pretty much, like, resorts, so why can't they do more for the tribes? And if anything, why aren't we seeing, I guess, changes, which you really haven't seen? Then there is the final thing I have to talk about. So, before anything, I want to say I have to give a trigger warning due to the fact that I'm going to be talking about sexual assault and rape. So, if something like that does trigger you, please leave the video now. But another issue that has occurred at these places is that pretty much shamans will sexually assault people, which is, it's really messed up due to the fact that a lot of the time, these people are going to these places to, I guess, help cope with some of the trauma that they have endured, and as a direct result, they end up having to, I guess, deal with more trauma, which is really, really messed up. I guess this comes about in two ways. So the first way is the shaman gives the drugs to the people, in which case, when they're inebriated, they end up getting taken advantage of, touched inappropriately, yeah. Or the second way is, I guess, a power dynamic, where pretty much these shamans end up using their position of power, with them being, I guess, like, holy people, and holy men, um, as a way of saying, hey, like, come be my girlfriend. And what ends up happening is the people end up falling victim to this. And sadly, it's really, really common. And really, they haven't really done anything about it. Like, for example, they were talking to this one shaman who was accused of assault, who was famously actually accused of assault. And the guy's like, yeah, no, it's really, really common. To the point where he's like, yeah, at one point, I think 3 of the shamans that were working under me actually were engaging in this stuff. And it's like, that's really messed up. Like, really? You want something that, you've been practicing to be, I guess, associated with that type of stuff? It's really, really messed up. And then also, it doesn't really help either. And I mean, if anything, you know, you could say that this practice is already highly criticized with it being, dealing with drugs and drug use. Do you really want it to be, like, tainted by sexual assault as well? Especially when you're trying to get it accepted into society? Like, that's not how things get accepted into society. You do it through professionalism, stuff like that, not through, like, people getting sexually assaulted, which is really, really, really bad. And before anything, I just want to say I'm super sorry for anybody who has endured this. I genuinely feel bad for you. That, I guess, concludes this week's video. And for starters, I just want to say I'm sorry. With my crazy upload schedule, I'm really, really busy and have been really, really tired with my job. Like, for example, this week I pretty much spent the whole entire week making a retaining wall, and for anybody who's made a retaining wall, it is not the best. So I've been kind of slacking on my upload schedule. Hopefully, it's going to start becoming normal again, or I'm going to try to get it to normal, where I'm going to try to be posting once a week on that exact same day. Um, but anyway, so just thank you for sticking with me. I hope you guys are doing good. Please stay safe. It's going to be a crazy week. The election is going to be on Tuesday. Please just stay safe. Vote. It's really, really important. Let's vote. You know. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good week. I hope everything still is safe with you guys, and I hope you guys are enjoying the fall. And remember, wear your mask. Okay. We're gonna get through this only if you people wear your mask. But anyways, so basically signing off. I hope you guys have a good week, and I'm out.